What is?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being on time. Appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
I know. Okay, so today we need to finish our documentary. It's about 9 minutes left, maybe.
No, give me a moment.
See, look.
Because that's how long as it was. It's a pretty good one. You know, it's not just. And then they did this. And then they did this.
Yeah, nice. That was, I don't think that's how it went in real life.
All right. So, what are some of the things that you remember from the video yesterday, Paul?
You didn't watch it too many ground.
Oh, because they wanted to watch their. Because one of the last things we saw was that they
They
were.
wanted the white
on
man
the-
to drown.
They didn't want to.
They
wanted to watch because those rapids were supposed to be extremely.
According to Matthew, you're like level 5.
Yeah.
Matthew's
So in a roundabout way, Lewis and Clark are taking on dangerous challenges there. Just like
When did Sacagawea come
oh, she's in there,
in?
but she also has a what, Parker?
Baby.
She has a baby. I mean, baby.
I did research on her in third grade,
Yeah.
so.
So pretty awesome woman there. All right.
She was like the only one
I can't really let
Have they even made it to the Pacific Ocean yet?
No, they still have a couple mountains.
Yeah, seriously.
Why didn't they just take all their canoes off and then walk to the bottom of the river and then just float?
Well, they did. The first river, they had to go upstream.
Oh, yeah. But when they got to the waterfall,
They had to go. They were still going upstream. Yeah.
imagine going in rapid rivers.
But during the rapids,
Because.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
If they have like cut out and walked around the rapids.
That's what they did.
Oh, okay.
But it took them 17 miles to go around it because there aren't any trails or roads, right? So they have to hack it out of the wilderness there. Right? Just like Hamilton said, it is a land of wilderness and many tribes of Indians, right? Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Is there any
Probably not. Since we're based on gravity. All right, let's see here. Gravity.
That's not right.
Get a hold of it.
They were heading down the Columbia, the great river of the Northwest. It was the last highway leading to the Pacific. Surrounding tribes such as the Umatilla, Walla Walla. There was one all-consuming lines. It's a great Pacific Ocean, which we have been somehow anxious to see. Finally, after a year and a half of exhausting struggle, Lewis must have felt triumphant. His party had done what many considered impossible. They had made it all the way to the Pacific alive.
The men appeared much satisfied with their trip. Beholding with astonishment the highway dashed the rocks. This immense ocean.
entire corps to vote on the location of the winter campsite. The first time in recorded U.S. history that a slave woman was allowed to vote. Near what is now Astoria, Oregon, they built winter quarters, named Fort Clatsop after the nearby coastal tribe. They traded with their Indian neighbors for salmon, berries, and roots, and settled in for 4 miserable months. For only 12 days without rain. The winter dampened their spirits as well. They were homesick and longed to see their loved ones back in the States. Most at home assumed they were dead. Nearly 2 years after setting out, they headed back up the river, crossing land now charted on Clark's new map. The return trip would take only 6 months. In the end, the journey opened up the West to their fellow countrymen. It was the beginning of a new era for the United States. But the Native American way of life would never be the same. They had passed among some 50 tribes without whose help they might never have returned. None played a greater role in their success than the young woman at their side. At the Mandan and Hadassah villages, they bid farewell to Sacagawea, who stayed behind with her family. She had endured every danger and deprivation while also caring for a child. Most of the men would never see her again. 28 months after setting out, Lewis and Clark reached St. Louis, ending an 8,000-mile odyssey. They were acclaimed as national heroes, the first U.S. citizens to cross the continent. Lewis had described at least 178 plants and 122 animals new to science. Clark had drawn new and accurate maps that would guide the next generation of pioneers. Together, they had blazed the path of their nation's future. Friends to the end, the two captains met very different fates. Meriwether Lewis was named governor of the Louisiana Territory, but he fell into a deep depression and is believed to have taken his own life only 3 years after the expedition. By contrast, William Clark went on to a life of success, serving as governor of the Missouri Territory. So different in nature, the two never lost admiration for one another. Clark was a father to 10 children. His firstborn, he named Meriwether Lewis Clark.
Did you see what that said?
Only one person died and I couldn't handle the trip.
Yeah, so only one person on the expedition died, but two Blackfeet Indians were killed in a skirmish. What is a skirmish?
A little battle.
It's like a small fight, yeah. So among the expedition, there was a slave. What was his name? York. And he asked for his freedom after the trip, but he didn't get it until 10 years later. But interestingly enough, what did the narrator say that was the first time ever recorded in history, U.S. history, that a
A slave and a woman got a
And
vote.
slave and a woman got to vote. And York was one of them. Now, this one talks about what happened to Sacagawea. And so there's no definitive record saying what happened. Some believe that she died 6 years later. Some believe she went back to her original tribe and lived to be 100 years old, but no one really knows what happened.
I mean, she died 6 years later. She died at the age of 22. This is very interesting, okay, which may come up again later, either today or tomorrow. It says her son, Jean-Baptiste, was raised by Captain Clark. And after a life of adventure in Europe and the West, he died in Oregon at the age of 61.
Wait, what was her husband?
I don't remember what happened to Charbonneau. Some of the records says that he was a real big jerk, so obviously he wasn't mentioned a whole lot in this. I'm not going to focus on him. On the expedition? It wasn't. It was someone else. All right. So you might hear a little more to the story on this part later. Okay. All right. So tell me what you know about Lewis and Clark now.
He is very adventurous.
Who is very adventurous?
Clark.
Clark is, okay.
Like,
Actually, both.
it was Lewis who like discovered all the like scientific things like the
He's the one that really liked to go out and explore and observe and
With his
record
dog.
all of those things. Clark was more of the military leader, I think,
The one that
especially
wasn't
with
afraid to shoot?
Huh?
The one that wasn't afraid.
maybe. What else, Paul?
there was the first one to travel across the country.
Yeah, from the Atlantic to the Pacific. That's pretty remarkable. Okay. And walking it and riding a boat. Riding? Sailing? No, we're sailing. Driving? Floating?
Riding in a boat.
Boating in a boat. There you go. Okay. What else? Was anything surprising to you?
That they,
I didn't know that they went through.
I didn't know they could build boats that quickly.
Yeah, it just sounded like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
That last part. So, and you got to see how they're called dugout canoes, right? Because they literally dug out.
And they
Didn't
cut
they
some
Indian
big trees.
huge
They
trees.
cut very large trees to make a very, not very
But
large.
there was plenty of trees out there, weren't there?
Yeah,
At that time, for sure.
I think it's crazy that they made like all those boats in like that amount of time too. That's pretty crazy. But that's
And
like their
how
bare
many people
hands
they took?
too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
How many people did they take?
There's about 30 people on the actual trip.
Oh, that's cool. And then they
Why did
picked
they
up 2
carry-
people.
They picked up Sacagawea
And
and her husband, because
And
he
the
could
child.
speak many languages, and then had a baby.
Yeah, so they carried
That
2
baby
people.
is
So that's
crazy.
Yeah, goodness gracious.
Imagine not
Being
being
on a
born.
boat and then.
Imagine not being born and doing more than most of us would have.
Right, yeah. That's so crazy. That's pretty
And he ended up
impressive.
in Oregon too. That's
And he went all over the world, or the known world at that time.
Yeah, and he said that.
Did he have to go to school?
I'm sure he was educated.
Do you think they ever like found like who owned Canada at the time?
Britain and part of Russia,
Oh,
or some of it was part of,
Who else did
was owned by Russia.
we all the same Aaliyah's brother?
Remember, she was actually kidnapped from her original tribe and brought to a different tribe, and then that's when she married that French guy, and then they helped Lewis and Clark get back to the Shoshone
sounds like the story's
and met
Pokemon.
her brother. That's pretty impressive too.
Sounds like what happened in Pokemon.
Okay, so now here's the question that we're going to be looking at for the next couple of days. Were Lewis and Clark respectful to the Native Americans they met on their journey?
I feel like they were pretty respectful.
But the
So based on the documentary,
They would fight
other
other
people.
fine if they had
and
to.
they were given orders to be nice to them.
Yes, they were.
But that one tribe, I can't remember the
The
name.
Teton Sioux.
Yes, I'm surprised that they didn't like throw hands.
Yeah, what happened? They like got on a hill and then.
Yeah, because they had the advantage, right?
Yeah, and they were
But
like.
they also had
Right.
the chief was
They hide.
was down at the
Hey,
bottom,
yeah.
so he was the one that waved them off. Yeah, that was pretty
They kind
tense.
of like, they called the sword to the chief.
I know.
It's like,
So kind of threatening them,
yeah,
right?
I was like.
Because who was in charge at that time on the river?
Then
It was the Teton Sioux. So, and then these random strangers come up and they're like, yeah, we're gonna go on this river over here.
But we're not gonna bother you that much. We're just gonna go.
Yeah.
We're
But
just
can you
gonna try to
translate
walk you
that? I
down.
don't know if they could translate
This
that.
is our lane now, but you can still.
Right.
Right.
for a little bit,
Yeah.
till the movie don't know.
So what we're gonna do now is prepare ourselves for a debate, like a verbal debate on whether or not Lewis and Clark were respectful. Okay? So you need to prepare for if you were going to argue both sides. Because I'm going to randomly assign you to a side or the other.
That's hard.
Okay? But in order to, do you think we could actually answer that question just based on the documentary?
No,
No,
We have to do a lot.
we need more
we need to watch
information.
like a little like other people's opinion, like little like TED Talks. Like not like watch a TED Talk, but like stuff like that. Like
Well,
people-
we're not gonna do that. We're actually going to read primary sources. So from Lewis and from Clark and one other secondary source, and then you will determine if you think they were respectful or disrespectful. Okay? And I'll walk you through it today and then let you work on it on your own tomorrow. And then we will debate on Monday.
And tomorrow you may just watch TikTok. You,
I did last year in
Oh,
seventh
yeah.
grade.
Make the what?
you may just watch.
Why do you want to?
No, they were so boring. We used to play them all the time in sixth
Because
grade.
they're interesting.
they're boring.
So boring.
Especially like she would always play them on Fridays, and that would be like the day after our game, so
You're
we're all
so tired.
really
It was
tired.
important. I just had to fall asleep. It was like, all right, so you need to take notes in the first grade. I would just fall asleep.
All right, I want you to glance through those just a second while I talk some important talk.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Absolutely.
Guys, if there's any cheerleaders,
Shh, listen up, please.
football players in here, the game tonight has been canceled. If Ms. Mullen doesn't care, can they text their parents so they get as early morning as possible?
Yes, after I give instructions. I will-
Absolutely,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
junior high, we were going to play tomorrow before the senior high game at Lamar. So, let your parents know, no game tonight. Thank you, sorry for interrupting.
No problem.
What? No, no, we wore white jerseys.
Okay,
Wait, what
They
time will we get back
Oh,
home?
I'm sorry.
I think they'll probably tell you. I don't know anything.
Like Lamar is.
They said we'll play like the 7th grade game. We'll play at 5:30, and then
Okay, so how many documents are in here? Did you look?
I think it's supposed to be rain.
Yeah, but good.
4 documents.
5.
5 documents.
Seems like it, right? Okay, so we have 5 documents. We're not gonna get all through those. We maybe barely get through 2. No problem. In just a minute, okay? Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a
SAC or something? Yes. Okay. So basically what we're going to do is read through document A. And in the back, there are some questions. There's only one question for document A. We'll do that together, and then we'll look at B. I think we'll have time. And then we'll answer those questions together and see if we can pick out if they were respectful or not respectful. Okay? So before we do that, you are on the football team or cheerleader. Any cheerleaders in here? Go ahead and text your parents. Okay?
You can put it on.
So while they're finishing that up, look to see who wrote the first document. What's document A? Okay, so it's from Thomas Jefferson to Meriwether Lewis. When did he write this? June 20th, 1803. Is this before they left or after they left? This is way before. Okay. Do I want to highlight the title? And then the date, wherever the date is, down at the bottom or yeah, there it is. We're gonna- All right. So, what do you think Jefferson is going to say to Lewis?
Something about not going over there. No, something about what to do, like be nice to the Indians.
Okay, so maybe he's giving instruction. Be careful and good luck. Nice, I like that. Okay. So who would like to be Jefferson today? Jacob? Loud and proud, okay?
Right here.
Sure.
Considering the interest which every nation has in standing and strengthening the authority of reason and justice on the people around them, it will be useful to acquire what knowledge you can of the state of morality, religion, and information knowledge, as it may better enable those who endeavor to provide instruction.
Okay, so let's talk about what this says. Right? Are there any words in here that you don't understand? Endeavor. And it's wonderful because it's bolded. That means at the bottom, it's defined for you.
Morality.
Ah, good. So endeavor means to try hard to do something. Morality is what they believe is right and wrong. Okay. So these are instructions, right? So it will be useful to acquire what?
What knowledge you can of the state.
Knowledge, right? So I would highlight that. It will be useful to acquire what knowledge you can of the state of morality, religion, and information among them. Who is them referred to?
The Indians.
It's the Indians, yes. It is the Indians. But also, what does the word civilize mean?
In order.
Like a civilization.
Okay,
Like, they're in order.
so a civilization would be what?
They
Westward.
have, there's like the entire thing.
Arts and people.
People doing what though?
Being civilized.
What does that mean?
They're like not fighting each other.
Oh, but But we find each other all the time, and we're civilized.
Did you just say bite or
Not
fight?
really.
Fight.
Yeah, women bite each other.
But what Jefferson says is that so we can work hard to civilize them.
Ooh. That's
Why do I keep losing my head?
just in eyes and in their own like
Right, okay.
But they're not.
So- Exactly. So we have two different cultures here. We have the American culture, and then we have an Indian culture. We actually have hundreds of Indian cultures because there are hundreds of different tribes out there.
And still today.
Yes. So their cultures are not going to be the same. So, but according to Jefferson, they should be like who?
Us.
Okay. So, and that was a big deal back then. So we're gonna go out there and expand the land. We're gonna bring those Indians, and we're gonna make them like us.
That's not happy.
Which many people resisted to that, but some did actually become more like Americans. All right,
And still
Jefferson.
today it's happening.
Yes, Jefferson. Continue.
In all your interactions with the natives, treat them in the most friendly and
Conciliatory.
conciliatory manner. Assure them that the purpose of your journey is innocent. Make them acquainted with our wish to be neighborly, friendly, and useful to them, and to trade with them. Find out what articles would be most desirable for both of us to trade.
Okay. So what has Jefferson told them to do? Be friendly and find out what you can trade with them that would be useful to not only us but to them. So what would you highlight here?
the purpose of your journey is innocent.
Okay, maybe purpose of your journey is innocent, but what else maybe?
Or wish to be neighborly, useful to them. I don't know.
Specifically, are they supposed to treat?
Oh, our wish.
Treat them in the most friendly and conciliatory.
That's what, I mean, if we're gonna debate, would that not be something useful to a debate? How about treat them in the most friendly and conciliatory manner? What does conciliatory mean?
Trying to avoid conflict.
So try to avoid a fight, basically, or tensions. Did that happen? in the document?
Yeah.
So two
They
Indians.
tried to avoid it.
They did try to avoid it, and in that one scene we saw, and they did avoid a fight. There was some tension there, but at least they didn't duke it out.
Yeah.
So,
So good
All right.
job with it.
yeah, seriously.
Didn't kill anybody. I mean,
All right, Jefferson, how about you continue there?
In a few of their influential chiefs, or if a few of their influential chiefs wish to visit us, arrange such a visit for them. If any of them wish to have some of their young people raised by us and taught things that may be useful to them, we receive, instruct, and take care of them. Such a mission, whether of influential chiefs or of young people, would give us some security to your own place.
Okay, so what's he saying now? What should we do?
their kids on
Teach the littler ones.
Yeah, teach the young kiddos to Jean-Baptiste, her son, right? Are they forcing them to do this?
No, but they could.
If they want to.
It says if, right? Maybe highlight if. If they want. If. No, that's an indication that there's options there. Jacob, you want to finish the last little bit?
Carry with you some small medicine, and instruct and encourage them to use it. This may be done wherever you spend the winter.
All right, what do you think about that?
Sounds very helpful.
That's kind of helpful, yeah.
It is
For
helpful.
smallpox.
So they know, what do they know about their own bodies at this point then?
And they can get smallpox.
That they can pass smallpox on to other people. Yes, it's even worse, don't you?
Oh, small.
So they know that this could be harmful to the people that they meet. And so Jefferson's like, what?
Give them medicine.
Give them medicine. What do you think about that? You said helpful?
Yeah.
No, we do wanna have a good
That's
first
nice.
impression.
Generous.
They want to have a good first impression.
Something.
Okay.
But
So
like,
maybe highlight.
don't
Second
like
impression.
drawing them all out.
That's fine. Miss McMullen,
Yes, ma'am.
can Jacob come to check out, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Why
Well,
is
Jacob, you're lucky to get back.
So I also highlighted carry with you some smallpox medicine. Okay. All right. So is there anything in there that you could use to show that Lewis and Clark were respectable?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
there's
then
some
they
that-
were ordering to do it, and they're gonna follow it.
But I
And
think
it
it's
still
still
needs to
nice.
be the- Well, it showed that,
I think it's
Thomas
still
Jefferson
nice.
was trying to do it.
Because
All right.
you don't live in like a belt.
Well,
Technically.
technically, stars, right?
It's they
They
were
were. They were.
Same with everything in America.
Exactly. Well, yeah.
It's ours now.
All right, so open it up to that last little bit, and there are some questions. There's only one for document A. Okay? Only one for document A.
Where is this at?
The back. Someone read the question just for document A. Chloe?
According to Thomas Jefferson, how were Lewis and Clark supposed to communicate there?
All right, did we not just answer that?
Good. Can we just put good?
Yeah, these are notes basically for you. Okay, nicely, friendly, conciliatory. What if you use that word in a debate? That'd be awesome.
Conciliatory.
They were supposed to treat them with conciliatory manner. Yeah. So, however you want to write the answer to question A, go for it. Doesn't have to be in complete sentences. You can have a quote, but there might be another place for that later. Okay. All right. So this so far is turning out kind of positive, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's flip it over to document B now. It is a diary entry. Who wrote the diary entry? Meriwether Lewis. Who likes to be Lewis? Okay, before we read, when did he write this?
July 27th.
Quite well after.
So this is still on a journey, but they're headed back.
About 6 months after.
Well, I was
It was like a
remembering when
2.5
they were carving
year
it into the tree, it said 04 to 05.
So yeah, because it was the winter time, right?
Oh.
All right, Lewis, let's see what happened.
This morning at daylight, the Indians got up and crowded around the fire. Jake Fields, who was on post, had carelessly laid his gun down behind him. One of the Indians, the fellow whom I had given the medal last evening, slipped behind Jake Fields and took his gun and his brother's gun at the same instant. The two other Indians advanced and seized guns of Drewer and myself. Jake Fields, seeing this, turned about to look for his gun and saw the fellow running off with it and his brother. He called to his brother, who
Jake,
had jumped
Could
out.
you come to the office, please?
They overtook him. Our Fields, as he seized his gun, stabbed the Indian in the heart with his knife. The fellow ran about 15 steps and fell dead.
All right, I think we need to reenact this.
I want to do something.
Okay. Who's Jay Fields?
Remember the
Jay
guy who
Fields?
sleeps?
You're on post, so you need to stand right here.
Wait.
All right, so we need how many Indians? 1, 2, 3, 4 Indians. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold on. And then we need our Fields. Will be our Fields? All right. Put your phone up, dude. I know you're texting. All right. So I can read it again, and while I read it, you can reenact it. Okay. So yeah, just pretend no props. Okay. No props. No props. All right. So, so you're on post,
Access
People are
is that
sleeping. Our fields, you're asleep. Maybe be on the lay down. Maybe.
All the way down.
Okay. Who's the first Indian? Raise your hand so you know. Okay, you're the first Indian. Raceland, you're the second Indian, and then Shauna and Maddie, you're the next two. Okay. All right, here it goes. This morning at daylight, the Indians got up and crowded around the fire. All right, Indians, crowd around a fire somewhere. Jay Fields, who was on post, there you go, had carelessly laid his gun down behind him. Now, why don't you face that way and lay your gun down behind you? Okay. One of the Indians, the fellow to whom I gave the medal last meeting, slipped behind Jay Fields and took his gun and his brother's gun. Pick up another one. The same instant, 2 other Indians advanced and seized the guns of Brewer and myself. Jay Fields, seeing this, turned about to look for his gun. There you go. And saw the fellow running off with it and his brothers. He called to his brother, our Fields, who instantly jumped up and pursued the Indian with him. They overtook him, and our Fields, as he seized his gun, stabbed the Indian to the heart with his knife.
Oh wait, no,
Oh,
I
it's
have
a-
15 steps.
The fellow ran about 15 steps and fell dead. Okay, there's more to the story. I need a Drewer. Parker, listen. Drewer, who was awake, saw the Indian take hold of his gun. How about Maddie, you can be, and instantly jumped up and seized it. So act like you're wrestling with the gun. Both of you. Okay, take the gun. Pick it up. Maddie's got the gun. You're wrestling it from her. There you go. There you go. It's jumping up and crying, "Dang you! Let go of my gun! Awakened me! I'll be loose." I saw Drewer in a scuffle with the Indian for his gun. Scuffle, scuffle, scuffle. Drewer asked me if he might not kill the fellow. Parker, that's you. You're asking if you could kill Maddie. Can I kill you? No, you're asking me. No, it doesn't look like she's trying to kill you, so no. So as soon as they found us all in the possession of our arms, the Indians ran. Run away!
Run towards the door.
I'll just walk out to
You're good. No, just stay right there. We left one of our horses and took 4 of the best of those of the Indians. And while the men were preparing the horses, I took 4 shields and 2 bows and quivers of arrows which had been left by the Indians on the fire. I also retook the flag, but I left the medal about the neck of the dead man that he might be informed of who we were.
Hit him with a
Dead people up top.
Indians take it, whack him, and he runs.
The dead men tell on tales, right?
The
All right.
dead man.
All right.
I'm a beautiful dead.
I think that was the best thing for alive.
Lexi too.
Stuff was great. Thank you for your participation.
Y'all, I figured both the bar and the combat shop.
Okay. Now let's think about what has happened here. Respectful? Disrespectful? Think about it. We're not going to debate it today. We're not going to debate it today. So think about your ideas there.
I feel like I shouldn't have stabbed the female.
Okay, so if the question is Lewis and Clark, or just like
Lewis and
them?
Clark, like I would say as a group, okay?
Okay. So like, they're both
But Lewis and Clark are the ones that.
Because Lewis was the one who said like, no, don't kill it because it doesn't look
Let's say
But then the other guy who wasn't Lewis or Clark.
he just
Right,
like
let's say the whole group, okay?
Okay.
Because Lewis and Clark are in charge of the group, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so let's go back, let's go look at your questions here.
Question.
Okay. Someone read number 2 for us, please. Thank you.
According to the diary entry, why did one of Lewis and Clark's men kill a Native American?
All right, write your answer down. Write what you think. Number two. Number two. Why did one kill?
They were stealing.
Here's a toughie. If you've already done the second one, look at number three. So take the, how do you think? No. Vowel. It has to be a vowel. Yes. No. Period. Yeah. Number three is hard. You should think about it and then write your answer down.
I thought about it.
Good. Why do you think Lewis left the medal around a dead Native American's neck?
To remember them.
Don't do that.
No.
They cost money. Sarah Mark would say.
So are you referring to the cross? Like,
The medal. Do you remember in the documentary they gave medals to the people that they met, like just to show them who they were, maybe? And on one side of it, they had the two hands that were shaking. Okay. Okay. So I want you to think about that because that can be interpreted a couple of different ways. Okay.
I did it.
So tomorrow, I'm going to let you read the next three and answer those questions on your own. And I'll let you have a partner at the end and you can discuss your answers. Okay? Yes. Let's see your folder, please. This is number 16 in your notebook. Okay? Y'all have a rejuvenating rest of your day.
I'm just over here being a bit tough and I hear that.
Gosh, I was a good Indian.
As you read, you'll return your highlighter. Thank you. I need another thank you.
Oh, she's like the video.
Yes. I'm just saying, in the way oh, thanks. Bye. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
What are we doing today?
We're finishing that documentary we were watching, and we're starting.
Teachers and students, pardon the interruption. I've been asked to announce to the football players that the 7th grade game, the games tonight are canceled. 7th grade is canceled, they won't be playing. Junior high will be playing before the senior high game tomorrow night at Lamar. So junior high players, you will play at 5:30 tomorrow.